news,
Lobbyists are fed up with politicians accepting their money and then not coming through.
opinion,
When the automated police force orders you inside, that's just them doing their job.
remix.
Even lost my job partially due to the whole global warming issue. Increase in oil prices. This guy's scared.
This is Top Story with KLIXcast and Jill Skeen,
I've been a listener for about 20 years.
I'm talking to you makes me feel better.
where the news meets your opinion. Pick up the phone and talk about it. 736-0300. That's 736-0300. Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, KLIXcast and Jill Skeen.
Do your job.
Do my job. I have to start the video. Almost forgot it.
Good
Wow.
morning, Cal.
Good morning, Jill. How are you today?
I'm great. This weekend was definitely too short.
Oh, the weekends are always too short. Weekends or
This one
weeks
especially.
are always too long. That's just the way it works.
I don't know what the deal is. Yeah.
I don't know either. But
I
that's the way
don't
it is.
know.
That's the way it works.
That's how
We're going
it
to have a
goes.
busy day, though. We have Bill Kyle and Ken Robinette coming in at 8:30 to talk about McCash for Kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be going on this Wednesday, day after tomorrow, 5 until 8 o'clock at the McDonald's restaurants around the Magic Valley area.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to be posted at certain points.
You and
Benito and I
yeah.
will be posted at the Addison store. The one at Addison and Washington Street.
Not your old location like the last few years. You were on Hayburn and Blue Lakes.
Yeah.
So you're going to go to
We'll
Addison.
be at Addison this
And
week,
there
this
is
year.
an internal competition going on.
Oh, there always is.
So if you want to help Kelly and Benito out.
Yeah, that would be cool. Because 25% of everything you buy to eat will be donated to the South Central Community Action Partnership to go to school supplies for kids. But hey, I don't want to spill the beans all here because that's why we got Ken and Bill coming in.
Okay.
That's right. Then at 8:40, we have Randy Stapilus with the Idaho Political Update. I'm sure we'll be talking about the Saturday meeting in Boise with the Idaho GOP.
Well, we'll be talking about that with Grant Loebs.
And we'll be talking about that with the Grant Loebs at 9 o'clock also.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a busy day.
So call in now.
We also have a story on gas prices. How we Idahoans are paying still more than the national average, which happens quite a lot. So we'll be talking about that too.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff to talk about today. In the news, a base jumper died while jumping in the Snake River Canyon. Friday evening, his chute failed to fully deploy, and he ran into the canyon wall.
Oh, no. That's sad.
Adam Rubin of Lone Grove, Illinois, was 23 years old. Gosh, that's a dangerous sport, you know?
It is. And
is.
you know, and it wasn't on a rocket or anything. You know how
That's right.
The
That's
city's
right.
so worried about, you know, having bad publicity and people die in our canyon. It happens all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I feel badly because he probably came out here on summer vacation or something to base jump, and I don't know why he was doing it in that area, not off the bridge. Who knows? Wasn't it like near Shoshone Falls?
Yeah, it was.
So who knows? But there you go. It's very sad. I feel badly for his family.
A 7-hour humanitarian ceasefire period began in the Gaza Strip Monday, hours after an Israeli airstrike killed a leader of the Islamic Jihad militant group. The group said that its commander in the northern part of the Strip, Daniel Mansour, died when the Israeli strike hit his home just before dawn on Monday. The Islamic Jihad group is an ally of Hamas, which controls the Gaza Strip. So I guess another ceasefire in that area, which Hamas now says it's not going to recognize. So
They haven't recognized about 7 of them, so why is this
that's
unusual?
right. I agree.
It's sad what's happening, and a lot of innocent people are being killed. And you know, they found that one Israeli soldier. They believe he was dead. The one that they thought was kidnapped, he was killed. So
Right.
this does not bode well.
The gosh, when you stop and you just stand back and take a look at things and see how the entire world seems like in turmoil. Or maybe it's just because we hear of the hot spots and we think that the entire world is in turmoil. Almost the entire Middle East is in turmoil right now.
Well, they got rid of a lot of the dictators, you know, over the last few years, except for Assad. So, I mean, then the people have spoken, but then you have these militant terrorist groups trying to fill in the gap of what these other people had. So There you go.
One of the more important stories is probably the one that's happening tonight in Twin Falls. The City Council is scheduled to have 5 hearings today. One of them will be on annexing 54 acres near Hankins Road North into the city. That's the proposed site of the new Twin Falls Elementary School. There will be another hearing.
Oh, wait, let's just clarify that one second.
Indeed.
Only 11 acres is for the elementary school.
Correct.
The other 43 acres is changing ag to residential, so it would be for development. And
Right.
I don't think people really realize that. I think a lot of people think it's just for the
we're gonna
elementary
have a school next door. Yeah, you're
no,
right.
it's not. So if that area affects you, you need to go and talk about that because they're changing the zoning from ag to residential and under the guise like this is all for the elementary school. It's
Yeah.
not.
All right.
Just for disclosure,
All
right?
right.
Don't you think people need to know?
Absolutely. Sure, absolutely. Whatever's going on there,
It
go
affects
to
the
go to
neighbors.
the meeting and find out about it.
Right, exactly.
There's going to be another hearing on increasing fees at the Magic Valley Regional Airport. We talked about all of this last Friday with Rebecca Mills Sojka from the Twin Falls City Council, but this is just kind of a reminder because the meeting is coming up tonight.
Yes.
So the hearing on increasing fees at Magic Valley Regional Airport and one on increasing police, fire, streets, and parks and recreation impact fees on new developments. There's going to also be a hearing on the changes in code that would raise maximum building height from 35 to 50 feet in the commercial highway zoning district, but also add additional setback requirements and would also add the Old Town District to the list of zones where people can apply for an increase in their maximum building height. That's coming up tonight at the Twin Falls City Council. They'll also vote on the maximum amount for the 2015 budget. They're going to set the maximum amount tonight, which means they cannot go higher, but they can go lower.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of stuff going on tonight, and they say politics starts locally, so
This
to get
is where-
involved in what's going on. And the city council, all the members are always in here saying, please come to these meetings, please
Right.
come to these hearings. So do it, and you might be surprised of some of the things going on that will affect you, and
Right.
you will at least have some input on it.
Right, because I talked to some people that live near that area, and they said they just got notices that it was going to be annexed. They don't say what it's going to be annexed for, so you're under
Yeah.
the guise of something else. But this affects you. Whoever lives in that area, this affects you. And this is where the decisions are made in town, right now, right here. And don't say, oh, I should have gone, and then it's too late at that point.
Yeah,
Once
it
it's
is.
changed, it's changed. Although it seems like once it's in the comp plan, it can be changed for whatever reason. No problems there. But anyway, this is where you have to go and pay attention.
Well, and that has been, I have to go way back in the early 60s when my dad was Twin Falls County Commissioner, and they first started talking about these zoning areas, and he was kind of against it at the time because he says, what good is the zoning when they can change it anyway?
They change it all the time
So,
anyway.
that's right.
And they
And I
can annex
understand.
just with a few owners' permissions, and that's it. And it affects the entire city.
I can understand that there probably needs to be some situations once in a while where there needs to be some waivers or some changes. It is a guideline, but I don't know. That's just the way it is. And there were a lot of people at that time. I remember when we first instituted zoning in the state of Idaho, and there were a lot of people upset over why can the government tell me what I can do and what I can't do with my property?
Right.
So that has been part of the issue too. Zoning has always been a contentious part of our politic.
Well, I have no problem with it if you're up front and you tell people, and instead of let's sneak this in, sneak that in,
Right.
let's talk to a few owners, and tell people you're not. I have a problem with that, and I think that people should have a voice in how they want their city to be set up. I really do. And like I've said before, I was on the comp plan for Twin Falls, and they spent months on it with a large group of people. And, you look at areas and you think, okay, these would be good buffer zones. But when you have people come in and go, let's develop it because it benefits me, who cares? That's the part I have problems with, and that's how it forms your city. And I saw my mom's town of Rockwall, Texas, go from a cute little town like Twin is to something you don't even recognize today. And I honestly hate to see this happen to Twin and to Kimberly, and it's sad.
We do need to change the notification process, I think, because you're
Absolutely.
right. Those in the absolute immediate area might be notified, but those living down the road
Or
few
even
hundred
across
feet
the street
might not hear anything about it, right? Because, so there definitely needs to, and this is the way it was set up originally, I guess. So over time, we've learned a few things, and I get it's time that we kind of change things for the better and let a few more people in on the deal, because really it's just the right thing to do. If something is going in across the street from you and you are not notified because
you live in Kimberly,
the notification process doesn't indicate you have to be notified,
right,
even though you're right across the street. Well, that's not right. So,
yeah,
I don't think
so
anybody
either
would be happy with a setup like that,
right?
Unless you were trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes, so,
right? Right. So I think our notification process for the state has to change. I really do, and just because you live across the street in another city.
Yeah, and I guess on that you need to bring it up to your state legislators.
Yeah, I guess they'd have to go from the state, wouldn't it?
And now that we're in the summer recess for the state legislators, now's the time to contact them. They still check their emails. You can still contact them via their email. Well, yeah.
Some respond, some don't.
You can go to the state website and see what their emails are. And still contact. Yeah, you're right. I'm sure probably some of them aren't responding or looking. Some of them get busy. Some of them just are not interested during the summer. But anyway, contact them and
get
let
involved.
them know.
The bottom line is get involved.
That's right.
Get involved.
That's exactly right. I had no idea that you once lived in Toledo, Ohio.
I did.
One more thing that we didn't know about Jill.
That's right.
Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo. I met I was married once before, and he was living in Toledo at the time, and I was living in Cleveland when I met him, and so I moved to Toledo, and we lived there maybe 2-3 years.
The reason I bring this up is because the Toledo's mayor, well, I guess they have water problems in the entire town of Toledo.
Well, they've shut down the water for the entire town of Toledo. It's 500,000 people.
I just saw now where the mayor of Toledo said that they can start using their water again. It's safe.
Who wants to do that?
Yeah,
I mean, really, for 2.5 days for a city that size, think about it. And it was from algae blooms that was caused by runoff from farms, and they said there was some bacteria or whatever, and it got into the water supply, which could cause liver damage and organ failure. And you think about it, restaurants were closed. All water was done. You couldn't shower. You couldn't really cook unless you had bottled water.
They said you could shower now if you had a good liver.
Yeah, now. Let's hope your liver's okay. That's scary. That's a large city. What would happen here,
Yeah, holy Toledo.
Toledo. It was actually a nice town. It was in the University of Toledo. It was nice.
7360300 is the number to call here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story, and I hope you had a good weekend.
Yeah,
I didn't do a lot this weekend.
You didn't?
No, I really didn't.
I went to...
trying to remember what I did do this weekend.
What did you do? I'm sure you were in your ham radio basement. You were probably woodworking or something.
I did a little bit out of my shop, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, we went to the other Rotary Club's beer fest.
Oh, yeah.
I'm such a lightweight, it doesn't matter. I mean, I just... a few sips, whatever. You go to be supportive and see your friends. And then we played golf yesterday. Here's a tip for golfers. Do not play golf with a brand new pair of golf shoes. I've had problems the last few times I've played. The socks bunch up and my feet, I'm very like a princess in the pea with my feet. So I have these new golf shoes and I'm like, these feel more comfortable. However, after, 18 holes, they're not so comfortable.
Ouch.
After the first 9, we usually walk. After the first 9, he said, it's tough. I have to get a cart. My feet are killing me. But I need a better golf sock. It's the socks that are driving me crazy.
Oh.
So anyway.
I've got that problem all fixed.
What?
I don't golf.
Yeah, that's true. There you go. It was a great day. But you know what? When your feet are bothering you and you're walking like 4 or 5 miles, I don't even know how long it is. Every step turns into, you're kidding me. I can't take one more step. So anyway, if anyone has a good suggestion for a nice, thin, not too thin golf sock that doesn't bunch under your feet, I'm putting it out there.
I'm sure that the suggestions will come rolling in.
Well, there's a lot of people that listen and play golf.
Absolutely.
It was a great day anyway. But
I have nothing against golf. I just never had the opportunity to take it up.
Yeah, it's nice.
So,
it's nice.
I often thought it'd be kind of fun. But say, if you are just kind of wondering for something to do,
okay,
even if you're not,
okay,
if you a lot of people frequent pawn shops. You know that's kind of a deal like people do yard sales.
Actually, I've never been into one.
You've never been into a pawn shop?
No.
Oh my goodness. Well, I got one you got to go into.
Well, tell me about it, KLIXcast.
Well, it's Canyon Pawn, and it's a brand new one.
Okay.
And they're right across the street on South Shoshone, on Shoshone Street from Will's Toyota. In the as we old timers call it, the old Vickers Western Store building.
Like what, 30 years ago? Was it 30 years ago?
20 years, but we still refer to it.
It's still the old one.
That's it. That's right. And Dave Hansen and his crew want you to come in and see the new pawn shop in town. It's nice and clean, and I was in there last week.
Yeah. Do they have anything left now?
I don't know.
We know what a hoarder you are.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell you what, I had to leave my checkbook out in the car.
That's a good idea.
Because a lot of the stuff they have is actually new.
Oh,
Still in the box, as a matter of fact.
Oh, goodness.
But they've got all kinds of new and used items, and they do pawn. They have a whole set of woodworking equipment. And I'm talking about the router table, the table saw, and all kinds of stuff like that. So you will find that in there, and it's nice. This is nice, high-quality stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So give them a call at 933-2600. You can check them out right across from Will's Toyota. I've always kind of had fun going into pawn stores because, it's just you go in today and if you don't see anything that interests you, chances are there will be something in there tomorrow.
And tomorrow there'll be a samurai sword or something.
That's right, exactly. So
worth thousands.
So give them a call, 933-2600. Or better off, just stop in and say hi to Dave Hansen and his crew and tell them that we sent you in.
I have to go in and see it.
Yeah.
I've never been to one.
Well, there you go. Now's your chance.
Okay.
All right. One thing I know the stock market has been doing a lot of things here of late, up and down. In fact, last week it was in record territory, and then it plummeted, about 300 points, the Dow did.
Because people's salaries were going up.
I don't know.
Because people are doing better because the Fed might raise their interest rate, so then it drops.
How many books have been written on the stock market because somebody's got it all figured out?
I know.
I don't think that is the case. But billionaire hedge fund manager Paul Singer has issued an unusual warning for investors, calling the threat of a widespread blackout from an electromagnetic surge that most significant danger in the world. It's called an electromagnetic pulse, or EMP. The events can occur naturally from solar storms or artificially from high-altitude explosion of nuclear weapons. He says, while these pages are typically chock full of scary or depressing scenarios, there is one risk that is head and shoulders above all the rest in terms of the scope of potential damage adjusted for the likelihood of occurrence. Singer wrote to clients of his $24.8 billion Elliott Management on Monday in a standard investment update letter. Even horrendous nuclear war, except in its most extreme form, can be a relatively localized issue, and the threat from asteroids can possibly be mitigated. So he's calling an EMP pulse from natural sources or man-made sources could be the downfall of the market.
Of everything, as we go more electronic, books, everything.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen?
Yeah, I don't know,
Except
man.
the ham radio guys would survive.
I tell you what, me and my little tube-type radios all still be talking.
Kelly would be tight. These are your first words. I told you so.
We're going to find out about McCash for Kids up next here on Top Story. 7360300 is always the number to call here on Top Story. And this morning we have Bill Kyle from McDonald's and Ken Robinette from the South Central Community Action Partnership. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good seeing you guys again.
You're here to talk about McCash for Kids. We've been talking about it here, and we did it last year, had a great time. So, Bill, why don't you just start off and tell us exactly what it is?
Absolutely. First of all, we're doing this fundraising event in 4 of our restaurants in the valley, the 3 here in Twin Falls and the 1 in Buell. Those are the ones in Twin Falls County, and that's the 4 that are doing the fundraising event. This event will take place this coming Wednesday evening between 5 and 8 p.m. So all proceeds that are spent by your listeners in that time frame will be subject to a 25% cash donation to the South Central Community Action Agency for the express purpose of helping families buy school supplies that these are families in need that need the extra help. And so we're just delighted to be in a position where we can help Ken and his organization out to raise some additional funds. We're hoping that we can raise a few $1,000s to go to this toward this great cause, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So we certainly ask all of your listeners to come out and join us. Have a light lunch on Wednesday, and then come out on Friday and have a big dinner with dessert, and bring the whole family. And again, just remember that all of these funds are going to help families in need in the community. So again, we're delighted to be a part of it. Ken's been a great partner.
How long have you been doing this, and whose idea was this to begin with?
This is our 3rd year that we're doing it,
okay.
and Ken, I'm not exactly sure. I think this was your idea, was it not?
No, actually, Bill, it's yours.
Okay.
It's yours.
We
it's
had
a great idea.
We'll take credit with you, but
I think if proper credit is due, I think it probably goes to Amanda here at the radio station. She's the one I think that approached the 2 of us with that idea, as I recall now. And so let's give credit where credit's due to the radio stations.
All right. Hey.
All right. How much have you raised over the last couple years? Because this is the 3rd year, right?
Yeah. The first couple of years, the first year we came out, it was kind of new to the public, and we had a pretty good show, and Bill actually even stepped up a little bit more. I think we were somewhere around $2,000.
That was my recollection, and close to that.
Last year, very similar to the same, but each year we do this, more and more people hear about it, and they come out, and there's a lot of folks that are coming in just to see the radio personalities at the thing, and then help supporting the cause. And part of this cause is with the school getting ready to start up in a couple of weeks.
That's right.
Parents are going yahoo, and kids are going Anyway,
who qualifies for getting these supplies? Is there any criteria for people to apply for
and
this?
I'm assuming there's a pretty big need out there.
There is. Okay, so first question on who qualifies. It's any family with school kids here in South Central Idaho that are economically disadvantaged. They do have to meet our income guidelines at our office. And to find out, they can either contact our office or stop by one of the local McDonald's that Bill mentioned, and we'll have representatives there with information on how you can get signed up for the school supplies.
Okay.
We work with the local schools to get their school supply list. And Kelly, the need is huge. It gets bigger and bigger every year. Last year, we reached out just throughout the 8 Magic Valley counties. We reached out to about a little over 25,000 individuals representing about 8,000 families. And of those 8,000 families, many of those have kids in school. Last year, with the assistance of the McCash for Kids and McDonald's restaurants, we were able to reach out, I think it was somewhere around 600 children were able to receive school supplies so that their first day of school, when they entered, they had the proper supplies so they could start that education process.
That's great. What are some of the supplies they need? I mean, I'm just curious. Like, has it changed since we were in school? Is it still number 2 pencils or notebooks?
Bill and I was talking about this a little while ago, and there's some of the needs has changed. And each school and actually each teacher has their own specialized list. And we get those lists from each of the teachers and from the schools that we can feed. But you have your normal supplies, the number 2 pencils, your white paper, your notebooks. Some of them want mechanical pencils. Depending on the age, we go from K through 12. Mm-hmm. So depending on the grade they're in is going to be dependent upon the supplies they need.
Okay,
Wow.
great. And people can just drop off a donation too, right? If
Yeah.
say they're in a hurry or they can't stop for dinner, they can just drop off a donation. Is that correct?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we have collection canisters on the counter at all four of these restaurants as we speak. We put them out, when was it? It was middle of last week, I think, went out Tuesday or Wednesday of last week to try to collect donations in this regard. And then, of course, those donations will be tallied into our, 100% of those proceeds go into the final presentation to the South Central
All right,
Community
so that's
Action.
coming up Wednesday
This Wednesday, yeah.
at the Twin Falls County McDonald's restaurants, 5 until 8 o'clock. Stop by. We'll be at the one on Addison in Twin, so we want you to stop by and see us.
Yes,
Thank you,
absolutely. You know, it's really everybody has a fun time. You know,
Yeah,
the crew and
exactly.
you guys and people from the South Central Community Action. It's a big party.
All right, well, we'll see you Wednesday, and
Thank
thanks
you
for
so
coming
much
in.
for all you do.
We have
That's
Randy
great.
Stapilus up next here on Top Story. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Just wanted to remind you to get by Bish's RV. You know, even though it is August, and even though school's starting up here in a couple of weeks,
It's hard to believe.
you still have time to go camping in an RV from Bish's RV. And they got a parts and accessories department really that is second to none. Around here, you know, people coming into the area say, hey, where do we take our RV to get it work done? Oh, well, it's Bish's RV. I mean, that's just that's the standard reply. They are your go-to place here in the area. Also, accessories and parts, you name it, it's all right there. Everything you need. They are the largest RV dealership in the state, and they have 4 stores. One of them is at the Curry Crossing between Twin Falls and Filer on Highway 30. So you want to go camping still? You can in an RV from Bish's RV. Stop in and tell them that Kelly and Jill sent you. We have Randy Stapilus with us this morning with the Idaho Political Update. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we looks like the Idaho GOP has finally elected some leadership now. What do we know about Steve Yates?
Well, we know more about him really on the national level than we do on the state level. It's kind of an interesting thing. He used to work for Vice President Dick Cheney years ago.
I know that in itself sent shudders up my back. I was like, "Are you kidding?"
Oh, go sit in the corner.
Seriously.
I mean, as some people like Steve Hartkin remarked, that will be a badge of honor for some people and a badge of shame for others. So
Exactly.
it kind of, it's a little bit of a Rorschach test depending on where you come from to start with. He shows up. He's shown up fairly regularly on Fox News, mainly talking about foreign affairs, things like that. So he's only been in Idaho since 2011, so just about 3 years or so. So he hasn't really had time to get deeply enmeshed in a lot of the insider-outsider conflicts that have been going on. He was in a primary election earlier this year against an incumbent Republican legislator, Jeff Thompson, over in Idaho Falls, which might lead you to think that this was a big part of that conflict. But everything that I've seen about that fight, and it made some headlines here and there, had more to do with a pretty individual kind of situation, with the way Thompson was running his campaign and the way he was financed and things like that. It was a pretty close race, but Yates lost it.
Yeah.
Do you think part of it is because he's only been in Idaho since 2011 and he's from Maryland? I mean, do you think people, when you're running on a more local race like that, people are a little bit more suspect out here?
Well, I think that's probably part of it. And in fact, if you're running for the legislature, most anywhere, and you've just been in the area for something like 3 or 4 years, that's usually not going to make it very easy for you to get elected.
Yeah, I was going to say,
people
because
want a little bit more local roots than that.
and anything out east, Kelly thinks, what is Wyoming or something, like Ohio is like the far east, but when you think Maryland, oh my goodness,
anything
Maryland,
east of the eastern Idaho border is out
forget
east.
it.
East of Idaho is the east.
That's
Yeah,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But do you think that it's odd, though, that and you talk about his relative unknown, Jill, about him not being elected, but what about, but now they elected him to this? I'm kind of wondering if maybe his relative unknown past,
Could have helped, yeah.
maybe that might be what helped him. Maybe people thought, well, we can start fresh here, rather than someone who's been embroiled in this controversy for so long.
Well, I think that probably was the case. I think that probably there were probably a number of people who thought that this would be a way for us to start fresh. This is a person who does have some experience being in front of cameras and speaking to news media and operating in the Washington D.C. kind of situation. And there may have been some idea there too, and they could be right, that this could be a good visible spokesman for the party as well. I think those factors taken in probably weighed in more than kind of the same sort of battles that people have been seeing in the party, and maybe that kind of struck some people as being, a little bit more of a refreshing kind of thing, and moving on from some of that.
Of course, he made the point about it's not really his views. He's more like a facilitator. And so do you think that was, because he really has to bring this party together?
Well, that's certainly he kind of said that, but then so did the others. And Mike Duff, who was a Blackfoot sheep rancher, who had been running both in June and now for the chair position, made that his whole point. He said that I can, because of my background and my experience, I can be the bridge in between these two sides, because I'm fairly close to both. And based on his history, you could make a certain case for that.
Yeah. I don't suppose we know which side he leans toward, Otter or toward the Barry Peterson side.
My offhand guess would be probably a little bit more the establishment side. It more or less looks that way. Although he was challenging an incumbent legislator this last time, one of the things that I noticed was that a number of other legislators, past and present, were supporting his campaign against an incumbent Republican legislator, which is kind of unusual. And that's I would suspect that he would be quite comfortable with the with the Otter, Crapo, Simpson, Risch group. Maybe a little bit more so than the other side, but he's certainly entering this as somebody who is trying to embrace both sides. So I think he's going to try and make an effort to try to make sure that he doesn't get caught up in that kind of inter-party warfare again.
Yeah. We're going to be talking to Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs coming up at 9 o'clock because he's well placed in the Republican Party here in the Magic Valley and was at that meeting Saturday. So we'll be able to kind of get his input on that as well.
That will be very interesting. I would sure be interested to know what he thinks was going through the voters' mind when they made their choices.
Well, listen in. We listen live, Randy. Anyway,
yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I'm, as just someone, even though I do lean toward the conservative side, I'm kind of glad this is kind of being taken care of, so we can get down to the business of elections now that's coming up. And I think the demise of the Republican Party in the state of Idaho has been grossly exaggerated. Would you agree with that?
I think that's probably safe to say. The support that it's gotten from voters in general elections has never really had very much to do with the party structure. I mean, it never really does. Very often the chairman of a party, if their party doesn't do particularly well in an election, they often take a lot of heat for it. In fact, they ordinarily had very little to do with it.
Yeah.
They sometimes have something to do with candidate recruitment, but that's ordinarily about as far as it goes. So I think that probably hasn't made a lot of difference in terms of how a lot of people are going to vote, unless you have people who sit out the election and are and kind of feel disenfranchised.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so I imagine that it'll make a good deal of effort to try to make sure that all the various sectors of the party feel in the loop and part of all this, enough so that at least they get out and vote and support their party's nominees.
Actually, the next thing I want to talk about kind of has something to do with that, with the Janet Jones versus Shelley Ibarra for Superintendent of Public Instruction. Ron Crane Deb Silver, I guess I should say, going against incumbent Ron Crane for State Treasurer. We got Holly Woodings and Lawrence Denny for Secretary of State. It could be an interesting election cycle, and I guess my question to you is do you think, the way I put it to you, I guess, is the hard Republican shell of the state beginning to show some cracks?
Well, there are occasions when enough of the voters will switch over if they have a real specific reason, and it's very clear in their mind that there's enough of a problem with the Republican nominee. They will sometimes switch over. They've done that they did that in '98 and 2002 in Superintendent of Public Instruction. They did that in the first congressional district in 2008. It doesn't happen often. It's you certainly would not want to consistently bet in that kind of direction, but now and again it does. And those three races each have situations for different kinds of reasons, where as we're sitting here right now at the beginning of August, and we've got a few months left to go, it's not entirely clear how people are going to react. And so I kind of describe it as having a little bit of an air of unpredictability about it. That is not a prediction that the Democrats are going to win in any or all of these races, but there is, I think, with each of these, a little bit of an open window in which the case still has to be made, and the Republicans kind of need to make their case a little bit more than they have been up to this point. I would say that of the three, particularly, that Ron Crane, the state treasurer, has been starting to deliver statements and act as if he recognizes that there are issues there that people are likely to be concerned about, and he's making responses to them.
I hope he recognizes there are issues there. My gosh, for some of the things that he's done, and he hasn't really even addressed. But the other two that Kelly talked about, the superintendent and also Secretary of State, I mean, there's no incumbent here. It's a fresh start. How do you feel? Do you think people will look at it differently than an incumbent race?
It is. The dynamics are a little bit different, but there are two different kinds of situations. In the Secretary of State's race, you do have a politician with a very long track record and a whole lot of negative headlines, a whole lot of baggage. In Lawrence Denny, the Republican nominee. So there's that, and if people start to focus on that and do take a look at what people have been saying over a period of years about his tenure as Speaker of the House, there could be some difficulties there. He has some real risk, I think. In the other case, it's a very different kind of situation, but there's been a difficulty in the with Sherry Ibarra, the nominee for Superintendent of Public Instruction on the Republican side, in that she's not really run much of a race up to this point. She hasn't been very well known, and the Democratic nominee has run statewide before, has been running quite aggressively this time, has, at least according to the reports that we've seen so far, been heavily financially outraising and out-organizing the Republican, who's really kind of an unknown. Now, this is not a case of something that of a real obstacle that of the same sort that Denny or Crane has. It's a very different kind of thing. There really aren't any negatives that I've heard against Sherry Ibarra that she has to overcome, but she does need to run a campaign and run a serious, aggressive campaign. And up to this point, there hasn't been a lot visibly, at least. There's still time, but I think there's some unpredictability there, depending on what she does or doesn't do between here and November.
I think of all the other races, I see the Janet Jones, Shelley Ibarra, Superintendent of Public Instruction race as will show the real pull of the Republican Party in the state. If Ibarra gets elected, do you think that'll be because of the R behind her name? based on what you've just said?
Well, I think that if she doesn't campaign too much more than she has up to this point,
Yeah.
and she won the primary election, remember, in a deeply split four-way
Yes, she did.
field.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was she won a plurality, but it was a really thin portion of the vote for a winner.
Yeah.
And she did not campaign much at all, and her win was kind of a shock to fellow Republicans.
Yeah. Well, Randy, we're out of time, but I guess we'll take this up next Monday.
We'll talk again.
All right,
Thanks,
appreciate
Randy.
it. Randy Stapilus from Reidenbaugh Press at reidenbaugh.com. You can hear him weekly right here, and you can subscribe to his weekly update at reidenbaugh.com. Next hour, we'll have Grant Loebs talking to us about the weekend meeting of the GOP in Boise. And welcome back to Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call. We're just sitting here having a discussion on what is a binding verbal contract regarding a lottery ticket.
It's just like Fantasyland. We'll just talk in fantasy talk for the rest of the hour because of course we have Grant Loebs.
Yeah, that's right. So apparently if I tell Jill, I will give you this lottery ticket, how is that?
No. If you said if you won the lottery, you'd give me $1 million. It's not binding because there was no consideration,
Right.
But if I said I'm buying you this lottery ticket, and if you win, you give me $1 million, then that's a contract because there was consideration.
So that would be binding.
Yeah.
I
Right,
see.
Grant?
I'm sure there'd be a court fight about it, but that would be the argument.
I'd win. I would win.
Oh,
Yeah.
one way or the other, you would win. Absolutely.
Anyway, so that's
it
what we were
depends
talking
who
about
the
at the
jury
break.
believed, I guess.
That's true. Clearly,
I
I'll
don't know,
win
you
then.
could take a poll among your listeners as to who would be more credible in that regard.
Hey, come on. Be nice.
Sounds like
Monday
he does
morning.
not want a poll taken.
I know. That's what I'm thinking.
I didn't say that who would win the poll. I just said
Sounds
you
like
could
it
take a
did.
poll.
Sounds like it.
Wow.
Anyway, well, we appreciate you coming in today.
Yes, we do. Grant Loebs is the Twin Falls County prosecutor, but you're not really here in that wearing that hat today. You attended the meeting on Saturday with the election of a new state chairman for the GOP. So overall, I know you're kind of one of the top dogs, I guess I might say, in the Republican Party in this county. How do you feel about that?
I think it was a very good meeting. I think it went very well. There was almost no dissension at the meeting, at least none, no inappropriate dissension, no hostility. There were many close elections. As you know, we not only elected the chairman of the party, but two vice chairmen, a secretary, and a treasurer. So there were, we had to elect all the officers.
Right.
And really, with minor exception, there was really no hostility or dissension in the whole meeting.
Okay, I'm just going to back up real quick because for people who just heard this, they're wondering why would there be hostility in case everyone was under a rock. There was a lawsuit and a ruling done. Do you want to just do a quick background?
Right. This all goes back to the convention in June, which was held in Moscow, and where there was so much disagreement about how to run the meeting, how the convention was run, how various county meetings were run leading up to the convention, that the convention essentially dissolved and adjourned without doing any actual business. And that was because there was such a divide among various parties there that certainly one group believed that ending the convention was the only way to keep things from going completely off the rails and going to what we did this Saturday, a meeting of the Central Committee to select officers. So that's what happened in June. And then there have been various things that have happened since June where one side or the other has tried to jockey for position and try to influence the outcome, which culminated last Monday in a court case filed by the former chairman, Barry Peterson, and some of his supporters to try to keep this most recent Saturday's meeting from happening under the argument that there was no authority to call the meeting and that he was the chairman and he didn't call it, and therefore the meeting on August 2nd should be prevented by the courts, and he should be given authority to call a meeting when he wanted a meeting. And that just coincidentally, I guess, for the listeners here, happened in court here in Twin Falls in front of Judge Randy Stapilus, who listened to both sides argue and decided that Barry Peterson was not the chairman, that in fact there were no officers in the party as of the close of the convention. When the convention failed to elect officers, Judge Stapilus read all the rules and did his homework on Republican Party policy. I'm sure he's now one of the experts on the way the Republican Party should work in Idaho.
He must be thrilled.
I'm sure he is. He looked very happy.
Yeah.
And anyway, he read all the rules and he came to the conclusion that the party had no officers and that we had a legitimate call for a meeting by members of the Central Committee for August 2nd. He then rejected the claim by Peterson and his allies to cancel that meeting, and so the meeting went forward as was called for by an appropriate number under the rules of Central Committee members. The judge also declared that the executive committee meeting, and this may be a little bit into the detail, but for the listeners, there was an executive committee meeting called after the convention to try to address this vacuum in leadership, and the executive committee elected interim officers except for the chairman because they have no authority to elect the chairman. But the judge declared that meeting was also void because there wasn't enough notice given of that meeting. There's a requirement for 10 days notice, and there wasn't 10 days notice given. So essentially, after the judge's ruling, the party officially had no leaders, and by that I only mean the party chairman, the party vice chairman, secretary, and treasurer. The party had all the local leaders that are elected here in this county and every other county. Regional leaders were still in office. And national committee men and committee women who go to the national conventions, they were still in office. But those 5 positions that I just mentioned were vacant because they're supposed to be filled at the convention, and they were not. So the rules provide that the way to fill those in the case of vacancies is through a meeting of the Central Committee, which is what happened Saturday.
And you elected
Steve Yates.
Steve Yates was elected as the party chairman. Mike Matthews, who's from Twin Falls, was elected as first vice chairman. Jim Pierce beat an incumbent, Todd Hatfield, and was elected as the second vice chairman. And the secretary and treasurer were both reelected from their previous terms.
Now, after the convention, Barry Peterson hired someone for the office to kind of act as a media liaison, I think, and such. Now, is that going to still remain, or will the new chairman make all those decisions?
Well, he didn't do anything with any authority after the convention. And, of course, there were a number of us who believed that was true as it was happening, that it was without any authority. And Judge Stapilus confirmed that nothing he did was with any authority. So the person who he hired, to my knowledge, has not been paid during this time because the treasurer, who believed he was acting as treasurer, but in fact, as Judge Stapilus ruled, wasn't even the treasurer, did not authorize payment to that person. And that person may reapply. The new chairman may hire that person or not, but there's nothing because of being hired by Barry Peterson is valid. I mean, they may be selected, but I mean that.
So did he hand the new keys over? Because we understand he changed the keys to the office, and the checkbook was frozen.
I don't know for sure whether he did.
Did anyone get the keys from Barry Peterson?
Mr. Peterson, after the ruling by Judge Stapilus, accepted the ruling, said that he was not going to run again, and did not attempt to challenge or appeal the ruling. So my guess is that that all went smoothly. I don't personally know what happened.
Who's got
the actual keys? And the checkbook was frozen. I don't know if frozen is the right word, but there was a concern at the bank, of course, as to who had authority to speak for the financial obligations of the party during this time when there was no actual officer.
But I'm certain that that's all cleared up now that there have been officers elected in all those positions.
So, did you do anything else at the Central Committee, or just elect the officers?
That's the only thing. That was the only thing on the agenda. The only thing they really have the authority to do. The Central Committee doesn't have the authority to write a platform,
Right.
for instance, which is the other main thing that did not get done at the state convention.
So they'll keep the one they've had.
Well, no, I don't believe
So
that
there's
there
no
is a
platform for the
My-
Republican
My
Party?
view is that there is no platform, that the previous platform ceased to exist when the convention was called, because platforms don't go on forever. They're adopted every 2 years at state conventions. And so I think there is no platform. I
personally agree that anyway, but
I
there's
think
no
that-
official platform.
Well, I think that most candidates who are running would be supportive of most of the things that were in the previous platform. And I think that if you're a voter and you're wondering yourself, oh man, the Republican Party doesn't have a platform, I would look at the last platform as being the closest you can get to a unifying document for the party. Of course, each candidate may have differences with some platform planks, but it's not like the party stands for nothing now. There's a technical reason why there wasn't a platform adopted, and I'm sure that most Republicans believe that the platform that existed before is, in large respects, the platform that the party now runs under.
So before the meeting, I heard a lot of Republicans say, hopefully after Saturday we can just move on. Do you think you have the ability to do that now?
Well, I think so. And I as we talked about when this was still a controversy before, none of this really affects the way individual candidates run their races. None of it affects the way local parties run their campaigns, the way local precinct committee people work their precinct to try to elect Republican candidates. The only thing that really could be affected by either having no leadership at the state level or by having an either incompetent or corrupt leader is that you would lose the ability to do fundraising. You would lose the ability to, bring in organizations throughout the state to assist candidates. And really, I mean, that's the only thing that I think was of concern. And now those statewide candidates who would like financial support from the party, they now have a person to contact and say, hey, my campaign could sure use a few $1,000s, and same with local legislative candidates. So I think that the overall business of the party will continue as it always does, and as it has been for the last 2 months at the local level. By far, the bulk of what either the Democrat or the Republican parties do in the state is at the local level, not at some office in Boise.
Yeah.
Did anyone hear from Raul Labrador? Because I know he was over the convention, well, sort of in name only, but because you said he really didn't do much. But has he been involved? Has he been involved in the lawsuit or aware, or has there been any response to what's happened with the Idaho
Not
party?
to my knowledge that I do not know that he took a position on this, on either the lawsuit that was filed by Peterson or on the election of the new chairman. He was, of course, very significantly involved at the convention,
Right.
and my guess is he regrets that at this point.
You think?
Well, Grant, we're out of time. Thanks for coming in and explaining this
You
to
bet.
us.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Grant.
All right, we'll have Steve Millington on tomorrow for the Twin Falls Republicans. We'll get his kind of view of what happened also. So coming up next, we're going to talk about something that could hit your wallet. Actually, that is hitting your wallet. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story.
We're just debating with Grant Loebs. I'm telling you, the best shows are off mic. Honestly.
They really are.
Shocking.
They really are.
Anyway, welcome
Well,
back.
Yes, yesterday's $100 instant winning name.
If Kelly can find
Friday's $100
Friday.
instant winning name is Greg Stanger.
Greg Stanger, congratulations.
And the $100 word of the day for today is cash.
Cash.
C-A-S-H.
Cash. And if you hear your name, Greg Stanger, and you played the word of the day on Thursday, right?
That's no,
Friday.
Last Friday.
Last Friday, whatever, you win
What day
$100.
is it anyway?
I don't know. I wish
Yes.
today was Thursday.
You can go to our website, newsradio1310.com. Sign in, type in cash for the word of the day today. Listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word of the day today, you get $100.
That's how easy it is.
It is. It's very, very easy. Okay, I promised you we were going to talk about something that would that does have influence on your pocketbook. Have you noticed, and I have said this before, that I've pretty much given up on trying to rationalize this. Have you noticed the gas prices? The national average for gas price today, is my understanding, is $3.52 a gallon.
Is it?
In Boise on Friday,
Did you go up there
paid
Friday?
$3.85 a gallon.
Sucker.
Yeah. So, well, where else are you going to get it?
Well, you can get some discounts with reward points, which is good. So I get 10 cents or 20 cents off a gallon if you shop enough.
Okay.
So
but
that's unusual.
All independent from the
Clearly.
actual gas price.
Clearly.
Yes.
So what's happening to poor Idaho?
I don't know, but the AAA is thinking that something is amiss here. If you had driven through Arco Friday afternoon, according to the AAA, you would have seen a range of prices for a gallon of regular gas, $3.74, and that's usually the low ball. That's the 85 octane generally. The $3.77 and the $3.84 for the premium, depending on the station. If you arrived in Boise to find the average gallon priced at $3.87, then you might have patted yourself on the back for filling up at Arco or kicked yourself for waiting until you got home. But either way, the national average, again, is $3.52 a gallon. And AAA Idaho, which represents Gem State drivers, noted this gap between Idaho and U.S. prices in July. Now, just to be fair, there have been in the past some instances where our prices here were lower than the national average.
When? What day was that? What day and what year?
I can't name any dates, but I know it has happened in the past. It's very rare and it's very brief. But
I know.
It does happen.
It was an hour between 2 and 3.
But it seems like most of the time we are higher than the national average. And now we are significantly higher. We are, 33 cents or so higher than the national average right now. And they say that we get our oil for the gas comes from the U.S. and Canada. It doesn't come from the Arab countries. So why are we getting screwed?
I don't know.
That's the question. 736-0300 is the number to call. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yes, I used to live in Arco, and they told me that they had to ship it further there. That's the reason it cost so much.
But in Arco, it was cheaper.
Yeah.
That's it. And,
They told you that,
I have witnessed, literally, times when in Twin Falls there'll be one price, and then you drive to a smaller town, say Gooding or Wendell or someplace like that, and it's like sometimes 10 to 15 cents a gallon cheaper.
I would like to know, anyone driving right now, where's the cheapest gas you found so far?
Yeah.
Which station?
There you go.
Let us know.
Let us know. We'll name names, my friend. The cheapest place to get gas in the area right now.
I always wonder, because you think, well, maybe if I wait, if I go out further, if I go here, if I go to Kimberly, like, where's the cheapest?
Well,
right
normally, the more populated areas in the past have been the cheaper places because there's more competition, maybe it costs less to ship it there because there's more places that the tanker can put the gas. And then when you travel to some of these high mountain towns, you expect to pay more. But
like Kimberly.
That is not always the case anymore. 736-0300, top
Tell
story.
us.
You're on the air.
Good morning, Kelly and Jill.
Good
morning. You must know where all the cheap gas is.
Hey, well, you asked why.
Why?
The answer to why is because they can't.
That's true,
well,
isn't it?
I think you're right. That's absolutely correct. They can, and they do, and they will, and we just have to, and they are.
Are you going to stop going to the gas station and getting gas?
Yes.
I mean, if we stopped going and getting gas and stayed home for a while, gas prices would go down. I've had people tell me, "Oh, we only make 1 penny a gallon," and I call them baloney. I worked in the gas station field for 7 years, and I was the guy that changed the prices and everything else, and I know what the profit margin was.
What was it?
It's not huge, It's not huge. I mean, most people make anywhere from 8 to 12 cents a gallon after the tax and everything.
All right. Well, got to turn you loose. We're going to go to a break. Thanks for the call. Good information. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back, and was going to remind you that if you're in the market for a low-end honey loader, that that Pat Hartzell is the guy to contact. He's with Stanley and Company. He handles the low-end honey loader, which loads all type of manure, anywhere from liquid to frozen and dry. And again, unless you have a big feedlot or dairy operation with lots of animals, you probably couldn't use one of these. But if you do, one of these could be essential to your operation. You can see one in operation by calling Pat Hartzell at 280-1167. He can hook you up so you can see one of these in operation before you make that decision to purchase a low-end honey loader from Stanley and Company. Yep, they can help you out.
Why not?
Well, we're talking about gas prices, and
we wanted to know what was the cheapest gas right now.
Yeah, where is
Where's
the cheapest gas? And is it cheap, relatively speaking?
Yeah.
Or apparently Arco is one area of cheap gas right
Somehow
now.
I don't think that would be economically feasible.
Probably
what do you think?
not.
Let's drive to Arco to fill up, and it'll probably be a half a tank of gas to get there.
7360300, Top Story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I was going to mention, if you don't remember right, when they put Costco in and they started pumping gas there, their gas was like 20 cents cheaper than every place around there.
Mm-hmm.
And they made them go back in on Costco and raise their prices up to the Chevron station next door and everything was said they was going to put them out of business by selling cheaper gas up there. So they made them raise their prices up at the Magic Valleys and not lowering the prices to be competitive.
Wow, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that. I do know that, and thank you for that call.
Yes.
I do know, Fred Meyer has their rewards cards, and you can save my gosh.
Well, you can go.
My wife has gone in and saved $1 a gallon.
Yes, you can do
before.
that. 10 cents, 20 cents, $1 a gallon.
I don't know how they rate that, but
well, it's by how much you spend at Fred Meyer, and then you get so much. It can either be, I think, the minimum 3 cents. So it goes 3 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents, $1.
I see.
That's where I go and get mine.
That is substantial.
But I shop a lot at Fred Meyer, and so, it's nice to get a reward for it. Some people give you discounts right there, and some people, do that.
But I've often wondered, though, why you will pay more for it in Twin Falls than you will even in Jerome sometimes. And by the way, the Jerome County Fair gets underway this week. I was going to mention that, too.
Oh, okay.
7360300 is the number to call, but...
let us know.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a question.
Fighting with a phone
Kyle,
here again.
if you're listening, Kyle, you said that you worked for 7 years in a gas station. My question is, do you just sit there and just pull numbers out of your hat to say how much a gallon of gas is? How do they determine what to post? I know you said you knew the margins, but how do you decide what amount to post per gallon?
That's a good question.
They sit there, they have a darts, and they just throw it at whatever number they hit. And then they go, fine.
And is it the markup that makes the difference, or is it actually the charge of the gas being hauled to your area? Does it cost, let's say if the cost, just to pull numbers out of the hat, for $3.85 a gallon in Twin Falls, is the wholesale price on that $3.60, or is it $3.84? Because I've heard that they only make a penny or two a gallon.
Well, he said it was more, but
I know he did.
Yeah.
But
I'd like to know how they come up with their retail price.
Yeah, that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side of the matter is that we, like he said, well, what are you going to do? You going to stop driving? No, we're not. We're going to stop eating to make food prices go down? No, probably not.
Actually, some people have started. When they had when it was going really high, they were doing, riding their bikes, they were walking, they were using alternative fuels.
It's kind of tough to do that in the winter.
Cooking oil.
And I see a lot more of those little scooters around town, too, that get about, 100 miles
the little
to the
Vespas,
gallon, something like that.
things like that. Yeah.
7360300, Top Story, you're on the air.
Good morning.
I'm
sitting at the new Maverick station, and 85 octane is 372.9, 87 is 382.9. 89 is 390.9, and the good stuff at 91 octane is 396.9. And I ain't got no idea how they do that.
I don't either.
That's the answer of the morning.
All right, thank you very much. So the cheap price is, I think you said $3.72.
Or $3.72.
Yeah. 7360300. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Okay, so you take your wholesale fuel, add your taxes, and your profit margin, and that should give you your amount.
Right.
But you have to calculate what's already in your tank. And here's the trick. A lot of the guys out there, when the price goes up, they raise their price instantly.
Yes.
That means the cheaper gas that's in the tank, they're getting more money for.
Right.
But when the price goes down, they don't drop the price till the tank go empty.
Wow.
So you're going to get guys that say that's not true. Well, unfortunately, I worked in that business. It is true, and they can do their margin any way they want.
So the markup is up to them then. If they want to charge a dime a gallon, 20 cents a gallon, or a penny a gallon.
There is nobody out there saying you have to. Now there is a bunch of.
Okay, hang tight. Be right back. Hang tight. 7360300, the number to call here on Top Story. You've heard me talking about infrared barren.
I have.
From Far More of Idaho, where they fly over your fields, they take infrared pictures, then they upload them to your computer so you can do your own analysis on what's happening with your field. Maybe the water isn't doing what it's supposed to. Maybe your irrigation system that you thought was so good just isn't all that good. So what you can do is contact Far More of Idaho. They can arrange to have flyovers of your field.
Mm-hmm.
They will take these pictures, and then you can decide what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this isn't all that expensive, but as I've said before, it doesn't cost. It pays. Because when you can see your field through infrared photography, you can see where the hot spots are, where the dry spots are, where the wet spots are, and then you can make changes in the way your irrigation system works, and that will increase your yield to more than pay for these overflights. Information is money, all right? And they've got it at Far More of Idaho. You ask them about infrared barren at 324-3341. I think Kyle had to leave. He couldn't wait for the whole. Okay, well, anyway, it's interesting. And really, choosing your own profit margin, I mean, that's part of the free enterprise system. I don't criticize anyone for that. But I've always wondered why the prices are different. And when they say, well, it's more expensive to haul to certain areas, if that were the case, then it would always be higher in some areas and always be lower in others. But it's not.
No.
There are times when the small towns are higher than the big towns, and vice versa. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And maybe when we're talking,
is it not
10,
hard to get
15
to Arco?
Cents a gallon? I don't know. Right,
not
exactly.
hard to get to Arco.
Maybe it's tougher in the winter than it is in the summer.
Oh my goodness.
But and maybe that's a consideration. I don't know. But we're in the middle of the summer right now. It's hotter than blazes. We've been up in the 90s consistently for a few weeks now. So I know there isn't any ice or snow drifts along the interstate where the tankers come in. So why now
There's hardly any
Idaho,
snowdrifts out here. They haven't seen snowdrifts.
Actually, we have,
You
but
don't.
it's been a while.
No.
It's been a while.
I mean, you'll have a snowstorm. It's done that afternoon. It's melted. It's very rarely
Not
we've
always.
had.
No,
in the 10, 11 years I've been here, I'm telling you.
Well, we haven't had any in the time you've been here, but I can remember a couple of times in my life here where we have had, and everybody talks about the winter of 48 and 49.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you remember it.
No, I don't remember that, but
okay, so
but
how
I remember
long
my
ago
dad
was
talking
that?
about that. Well, it was 48 and 49. You do the math.
No, I know, but I'm saying when you talk, it can possibly affect today with snow drifts. You know, I mean, when I moved out here from Boston, the last winter I was there, they had over 100 inches of snow. Like, come on.
Sure,
we don't have that here.
No,
I mean, it would be harder to get gas out there, right? I mean, why gas there? Yeah,
absolutely. So how much was gas in Boston when they get that?
I don't remember.
Was it higher than?
I don't remember. I fill it up.
And
I mean, that was a while ago.
The most important thing, I guess, is there anything we can do about it?
I'll tell you what's high in Boston
ride our bikies.
Are the toll roads. You know, they were talking about putting toll roads in here. My gosh.
Yeah.
It adds up.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
I hope not.
7360300. Top story. You're on the air.
Hey, our winters in the 80s.
Okay.
Winters in the 80s, we had snow drifts.
Yeah, we did. I was trying to remember one. I guess that was because I remember one year, maybe it was like 80 or 81, 79, 80, something like that, 80, 81.
Was that like 34 years ago?
We actually didn't have all that much snow. We just had some snow and a lot of wind. And the runways in our corrals drifted as high as the fence posts.
Okay, but you're missing the whole point here. It's not like we have snow drifts all the time where it makes it hard to get gas here. That's the point.
You're right.
It's like 34 years ago.
I'm sorry. 7360300. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing
good.
Good.
How are you?
I had a brother that hauls fuel for Phillips 66.
Yeah?
He hauled it from Woods Cross, which is north of Salt Lake City, a few miles, to southern Utah. And he got 3 cents a gallon for hauling the fuel, and yet the fuel in Beaver was always about 25 cents more than it was in Salt Lake City.
Huh.
So there's no rhyme nor reason to it.
No rhyme or reason other than that the stations don't really have that much traffic, I guess, to get to sell their fuel, and so they have to have a higher percentage in order to make it down there.
Okay.
That's the only thing I could figure.
Well, actually, that kind of would make sense, but it doesn't make sense for Twin Falls because Twin Falls gets plenty of traffic.
We're a thoroughfare.
So,
I mean, it's going from.
Yeah, right.
That's why we're the meth capital. They come through here. They're going from there to there.
I don't know. That's interesting. That's very interesting. And you know what? I don't know.
Okay, where's the cheapest gas right now, people? Quick. I'm going to have to Phillipson.
Yeah. Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Well, and then here's another thing. Even if you do find the cheapest place, it might not be the best. I talked to my mechanic a while back when he asked me where I got my gas, and right now I'm not going to mention any names, but he says, yeah, that's probably okay. But he said some of them, and he named a couple. He says, they are really bad. He says, we are working on engines from people who come from those places all the time.
Wow.
So, in order to avoid a lawsuit, I'm not going to mention them on the air.
It's probably a good idea.
So, I don't buy my gas at those places, needless to say. But it's time now for the Huckabee Report, and it's brought to you this morning by Waddell & Reed. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger are the financial advisors, and the number is 736-6563.
Well, Kelly...
Ray Massey. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, because he won the lunch to Canyon Crest.
That's right. We pulled his name out of the hat last Friday. Actually, Rebecca Mills Sojka did.
Yes, she did.
For a free lunch with Kelly and Jill and a guest of his choosing at the Canyon Crest Dining and Event Center, plus a ride in the limo.
That's right. And most importantly, with us.
With us.
He gets
That's
to eat
right.
lunch with
That's
us.
right.
So he and a guest, I know you were contacting him by email because we didn't have a number. Did you hear back from him?
I haven't done that yet. No. So I will do that today. I promise, because what reminded me, because I still have the slip up here in front of me, and I do that to remind me to do things.
I should put a few more slips up there.
You should, yeah. You should see around the house.
Connie has slips up there.
Oh, yes. We had to put a little sign up. I never know if the dishes in the dishwasher are clean or dirty.
Really?
So inevitably,
you can't tell?
I'm putting dirty dishes in with the clean dishes.
Well, usually the
and
light's
then I
on.
get in trouble. Well, but after a while it goes off, and if you use something out of there, you open the door, use something, and you don't empty it at that time, the light goes out. And then you don't know if they're clean or
here's
dirty.
a newsflash. Empty it when you see the light on.
Wow.
When you go in there, for one thing, Kelly class.
For one reason or another, I haven't been.
Apparently not.
So we had to get a little sign now that hangs up there, and she puts it, one side is clean, it says, one other side says dirty. So I will know if I can put the dishes in the dishwasher
Well,
or
that
not.
will make for a happy marriage. I mean, it's like, you can either do that or you can complain all the time or you can tell your husband to pick up their socks or whatever they do. You deal with it.
So anyway, back to our original.
How did we get on
I
that?
don't know.
So,
but you
Ray,
can go to our website at newsradio1310.com.
Look for Kelly's email.
Yeah. Look and look for Kelly. Win lunch with Kelly and Jill and sign up and you might be the winner for August. Here it is, August already. And Ray, I will. If you're listening, Ray, I will be emailing you, and then you can let us know when would be a good time for you and a guest to go to lunch with us at the Canyon Crest Dining and Event Center.
And it's been lovely. We've had a lovely lunch. You had what did you order last time?
I had fish and chips last time.
Oh yeah,
very good.
What did I have? Oh, the veggie burger.
The veggie burger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our guests, Frank Vinsveen, had the elk burger.
Oh, he loved those.
And his brother Jim had the fish and chips.
Yeah. So
I'm surprised I can remember that because normally I can't remember what I had for lunch today.
You can't even remember to turn our show on.
Maybe I'm getting better. Oh, speaking of that.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have Steve Millington with the Twin Falls Republicans and get his view of the Saturday meeting in Boise with the Idaho GOP.
And the Public Health District.
And the Public Health District is coming in, too. So we're going to mix it up tomorrow. We'll see you then. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.